The moment my eyes met hers through the open kitchen window, I looked away in embarrassment. I was certain she would think I had been staring at her for all the wrong reasons, but instead of closing the window or pretending not to notice, she smiled with a sadness I couldn't explain. Then, in a voice so soft I almost thought I imagined it, she whispered, "I think you might be the only person who still sees me. If you believe kindness can change lives, that hope deserves another chance, and that forgiveness is stronger than anger, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement. Leave a comment about what compassion means to you, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories that remind us humanity is still alive." My name is Nathan, and 3 years before that quiet afternoon in Cedar Ridge, Ohio, my life had fallen apart. My father passed away unexpectedly, my engagement ended only months later, and the small construction business I had spent years building slowly disappeared beneath unpaid bills. By the time I bought the modest house on Maple Street, I wasn't looking for friends or new beginnings. I only wanted silence. My neighbors respected that, except for one woman who lived across the street. Her name was Grace, and every morning she watered the flowers on her porch with the same gentle smile she offered everyone, even though very few people smiled back. The neighborhood was polite, but whispers traveled quickly. Some believed Grace had become distant after losing her husband several years earlier. Others assumed she simply wanted to be left alone. Children waved to her while riding bicycles, but most adults hurried past without stopping. From my porch, I often noticed that she always seemed to wait an extra moment after checking her mailbox, as if hoping someone would start a conversation before she returned inside. That afternoon, when she whispered those unexpected words, I froze. She wasn't accusing me of staring. She wasn't angry. She looked relieved, almost grateful. I didn't know what to say, so I simply nodded. It wasn't until later that evening, while taking out my trash, that I noticed a grocery bag had fallen beside her driveway. Without thinking, I picked it up and carried it to her porch. She opened the door before I could knock, as though she had been expecting someone all day. Over the following weeks, our conversations grew naturally. We spoke about ordinary things at first: the changing leaves, the baseball games playing on television, and the old maple tree between our houses that filled both yards with golden leaves. Every autumn. Yet beneath those simple conversations lived something much heavier. Grace admitted that after her husband Samuel died from an illness, many friendships quietly disappeared. People had good intentions, but eventually they stopped calling because they didn't know what to say anymore. Loneliness had become part of her daily routine. Her words stayed with me. I realized I had built invisible walls around myself too. I thought isolation protected me from disappointment, but it had only made the pain last longer. One Saturday morning, I invited Grace to help organize a neighborhood cleanup I had been considering for weeks. At first, only a handful of families arrived. Then more neighbors joined after seeing children planting flowers along the sidewalks. Before long, people who hadn't spoken in years were sharing coffee, painting old fences, and laughing together. Something beautiful happened that day. Grace wasn't standing quietly at her window anymore. She was teaching young children how to plant roses, helping elderly neighbors carry supplies, and reminding everyone that communities grow stronger through small acts of kindness. Watching her smile felt like watching sunlight return after a long winter. As months passed, Maple Street slowly changed. Friday evening cookouts became a tradition. Elderly neighbors were never left to shovel snow alone. Families checked on one another after storms. The neighborhood that once felt divided became connected again, not because of one grand event, but because one lonely whisper encouraged someone else to care. The greatest surprise came near Christmas. Several neighbors gathered outside Grace's home with handmade ornaments, homemade cookies, and framed photographs from the cleanup day. No one had planned anything extravagant. They simply wanted her to know she mattered. As tears filled her eyes, I realized that sometimes people don't need perfect words. They only need someone willing to notice them. Before we reach the end of this story, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell us about a moment when a simple act of kindness changed your life or someone else's. Your story might inspire another person who needs hope today. Standing beside the glowing Christmas lights that evening, I remembered the moment I thought I had been caught staring through that open window. I had believed I was about to experience another awkward misunderstanding. Instead, I had heard a quiet sentence that completely changed my life. Grace wasn't asking for attention. She was asking not to be forgotten. In helping her feel seen, I discovered that my own heart had been healing all along. If this story touched your heart, please support the channel by liking the video, sharing it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribing for more uplifting stories filled with faith, hope, compassion, and the quiet miracles that happen when ordinary people choose kindness over indifference. Sometimes, the smallest whisper becomes the beginning of someone's greatest new chapter.